Fans of Super Saiyan 4, both old and new, pick up your then, now, forever merchandise right now in the Geekdom 101 store. Comes in various sizes and styles and different colors. Tons of colors. You can get a t-shirt, you can get a long sleeve shirt, a hoodie, many different varieties, whatever you think looks best on you. To commemorate the return of Super Saiyan 4, one of the most beloved forms in history. The link is in the description. Get yours today. The final battle of Dragon Ball Daima was Super Saiyan 4 Goku, the new version as an adult, versus King Gomah. But did you know there's a lot more to this fight than meets the eye? Stay tuned to this video all the way to the end, because by the time we're done, you're going to know more about the truth and the hidden meaning behind Goku versus Gomah in Dragon Ball Daima. The main event fight of Dragon Ball Daima was Super Saiyan 4 Goku, the new version, against King Gomah, Giant Gomah is what he's being called now officially, with the third eye. And on this video, I want to discuss the inspiration behind this fight and the truth behind this fight, because there's more going on beneath the surface than you realize. And on this edition of Sayuki, we'll be talking about it, because Toriyama is using this fight to reference a very important battle in Journey to the West. And those of you who have played Black Myth Wukong, you will have some familiarity with this. And that is the battle between Sun Wukong and Erlang Shen. Now, all the way back in the original pages of Dragon Ball, Toriyama did pay tribute to this and was inspired by this with the tournament fight between Goku and Tenshinhan. However, this version seems to be like that, except on steroids. No pun intended for Gomah. It's really, really much more like the Erlang Shen battle than we could have expected. So, Jordan, can you tell us a bit about Erlang Shen and the backstory behind him compared to King Gomah with the third eye?
What's really cool about the fight with King Gomah and Super Saiyan 4 Goku is that it really reflects what Sun Wukong had an issue with whenever he was fighting Erlang Shen. And that was the fact that no matter what Sun Wukong threw at Erlang Shen, he adapted to it immediately, and Sun Wukong basically was defeated and captured due to his fight with Erlang Shen. And that was the first really humiliating defeat that Sun Wukong ever experienced, was this battle with Erlang Shen. Thanks to Erlang Shen, Sun Wukong was trapped by a diamond chain and was thrown into a furnace to be turned into an elixir of immortality. They actually almost killed Sun Wukong, but Erlang Shen was a powerhouse. He could do everything that Sun Wukong could do, but better and more. And he had the power of his third eye, which completely overwhelmed Sun Wukong. Sun Wukong didn't even understand how something so powerful could exist. So it really does seem like in this fight between Gomah and Super Saiyan 4 Goku, it's very apparent that the dynamic between Super Saiyan 4 Goku, where he is using his ki as a weapon, exactly like Sun Wukong. Like Sun Wukong as a character was the purveyor of using ki as a weapon in fiction. He was like the first ever character who really embodied that concept of increasing your ki, that making you stronger, making your body as hard as steel, and making you more powerful. That was the reason that Sun Wukong himself was such a threat to the gods, due to his access to ki. But whenever he came into contact with Erlang Shen had all of these really crazy supernatural abilities that he had never faced before, and he could copy everything that Sun Wukong himself could do as well. So every time Super Saiyan 4 Goku would come at Gomah, and then Gomah would regenerate and get bigger and just adapt to the situation as he was fighting Goku, is very, very reminiscent of Sun Wukong's struggle with Erlang Shen. And like you said, Toriyama is no stranger to referencing this concept, because Erlang Shen was essentially hired as an assassin to take down Sun Wukong, much like how Tenshinhan was an assassin-themed character who went blow to blow with Goku. Whereas with this fight with Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Gomah, he was using the power of his magical third eye to completely surpass every obstacle that Goku threw in his way, and that was the thing that Gomah had over Goku and the reason that he could not be defeated. And it's this situation, especially with Goku becoming a literal monkey-like figure, seems to parallel that interaction between Sun Wukong and Erlang Shen in a very blatant sense.
The way that the new Super Saiyan 4 Goku was designed, with sort of the hair not going all the way up to the wrist, more so a little bit back with the forearms, you know, that's a different design than the GT version that Nakatsuru drew all the way back in the 90s. And when we first got a look at it, you know, it was instantly more like Sun Wukong. Ultimately, Super Saiyan 4, in and of itself, whether you talk about the old one or the new one, looks a lot like Sun Wukong. It references Sun Wukong. We have artwork from various artists of Sun Wukong resembling somewhat, not entirely, but some of the features of Super Saiyan 4. That insane scene where Goku blasts Gomah with the massive Kamehameha that was so big that it tore a hole in the demon realm and connected it all the way with the other 3 demon worlds. That was a feat that we were not expecting, and he blasted literally a hole through Gomah, which would have killed him if it wasn't for the third eye regenerating him. We literally see the hole closing and closing and closing, you know, as Gomah's third eye saved him. If he didn't have that third eye, it would be history. So the third eye has always been a representation of enlightenment. It's always been a representation of extreme power in both Eastern and Western mythology and even some religions. But in Dragon Ball, Toriyama kind of flipped it by making it this artifact that the Demon Kings have used to maintain complete control. So in Journey to the West with Erlang Shen, his was different because his third eye was a part of him. He was like Tien. He had 3 eyes. It wasn't like it was an artifact.
Right. That's right. And with Gomah, he seems to represent a more evil depiction of what the third eye concept can offer a character. There is a good version of the concept of the third eye. We know Buddha himself had a third eye, but also the Demon King Mara that he had to fight off, which represents different aspects of immoral acts and things of that nature that Buddhists themselves look down on. He is commonly depicted with a third eye, as well as many wrathful deities throughout Buddhist and Hindu culture. Now, you can kind of consider the third eye the gate to the spiritual dimension. It's essentially a representation of your insights into the spiritual realm. And this is why the concept of the third eye can be considered dangerous, because in some occult practices, the third eye is essentially treated as the portal for demonic entities to enter into your body. So, despite the fact that opening the third eye is commonly depicted as a form of enlightenment, you have to remember that when Buddha was on the verge of experiencing enlightenment, that is when the Demon King Mara tried to enter into his heart and into his mind, which is really, really interesting considering that the third eye that Gomah himself uses is sentient. It's alive. It's an entity. And it's almost as if Gomah is allowing the demonic nature of the third eye to essentially affect every aspect of who he is as a person. It's funny because Gomah even talks about how he's supposedly a good person. And outside of the use of the third eye, despite the fact that he does seem like a Pilaf-style villain, which Pilaf even himself eventually became a good guy, he actually doesn't come off as that evil. So the third eye is not exclusively a good concept. There is demons and things of that nature that have third eyes. Like, there's different creatures throughout different mythologies who are evil and have third eyes, and as a result have a ridiculous amount of magic power. Toriyama himself is even aware of this because he's talked about in an interview about how different deities and spiritual figures through Eastern myth have third eyes that are ridiculously powerful. And he also mentions in that interview that Tien lost the full power of that third eye due to gaining an evil heart. And it does make you wonder, what kind of power would Tien have if he did have access to the full power of that third eye? We have no idea. But Toriyama is definitely very aware of this concept of the third eye granting mythological beasts and gods and things of that nature power. And he's definitely playing on that with this fight between Goku and Gomah.
And Zoma from Dragon Quest, of course, my favorite reference of the whole thing. He has a third eye as well, and he was also a demon king, an archfiend. And I think that the reason as to why Super Saiyan 4 was slightly redesigned, I mean, the obvious meta reason is because they wanted it to be different from the original Super Saiyan 4 for merchandising purposes. So you buy the new SH figure arts, you buy the new statues of kid and or adult Goku in SS4, and also the video games are now going to have a variety of Super Saiyan 4 variants. You've got the GT one and the Daima one. But the real in-universe reason, I think, it was more so thought out like this, was purely to reference Sun Wukong, because the changes that were made to Super Saiyan 4 were made to basically make Goku a lot more like Wukong.
Sun Wukong as a character, when he would get angry and his heart would start pumping, he would get boosts of energy and therefore power. When he was protecting Tripitaka from demons, or whenever he was terrorizing heaven, the thing that made him so unbelievably dangerous is the fact that not only did he figure out how to essentially foster his ki and increase it and use it as a weapon, but he also would get boosts of energy and boosts of power through his emotions.
And we saw Goku power up a lot in that fight with Gomah.
Yeah. Super Saiyan itself has a very particular technique. It's powered by emotions, as the series has mentioned multiple times. So Goku is drawing from a very, very similar power source whenever he's powering up from Super Saiyan into Super Saiyan 2, into Super Saiyan 3, and finally into Super Saiyan 4. It's almost like the peak of that power that you can have offered to you whenever you are using your emotions to your advantage to essentially produce ki. So the entire thing is very, very themed around, what Sun Wukong was as a character, who he was as a character, why he was so strong, the different themes and things that he represents. He is actually a representation of the heart of the Buddhist practitioner, because the heart is the source of the emotions that affect our mind, therefore anger and our survival instincts and ego and things of that nature. So he's themed around all that kind of stuff, and that is the well of power that Goku is tapping into in order to go into Super Saiyan 4 as an adult. He's essentially digging deep into the power source that Super Saiyan itself is, in order to essentially tap into his latent inner great ape. So yes, this is very, very obviously referencing, the power source of Sun Wukong as a character.
Not just that, but also we have information that Aya Komaki, the director, had wanted to include a Uzaru Great Ape reference. I don't know if it was necessary, but it was cool, because if you go back and watch Dragon Ball Z, when Goku becomes a Super Saiyan, when Gohan hits Super Saiyan 2, and when Goku does Super Saiyan 3, you can hear an Uzaru roar in the background. They've always used that. You could even hear it in Dragon Ball in Dragon Ball Super, when Goku's fighting Jiren and he bounces off the pillar and he's about to hit Jiren. You can hear this great ape roar. Now, before we wrap up, I want to talk about the slapping behind the head thing. So you have to hit Gomah in the back of the head to knock out the eye, and I had always thought that was a reference to like the Kung Fu master smacking the student upside the head when he says something wrong or does something wrong playfully. But is there more to that from Journey to the West?
Yeah, that happens to Sun Wukong in Journey to the West. As a matter of fact, he gets bonked on the head 3 times as a sign to go meet his master to learn secret knowledge. So yes, that is that trope where the Kung Fu master, is bopping his student on the head. That's also in Journey to the West. But you brought up the whole Uzaru roar thing, and this is actually something I wanted to talk about a little bit. Not only have they used the Uzaru roar multiple times for different transformations, they also always used the heartbeat as well. Like whenever when Goku first goes into Gray Ape, it's not just the moon that we see. We don't just see him turn into a great ape. We see the heartbeat sound effects. We see like the heartbeat like exaggerated, and we see that happen throughout all of Dragon Ball as well. So they're obviously trying to make this association between the heart and emotions and the great ape, and I think that's what they were thinking for the portrayal of Super Saiyan 4 as a concept, is essentially the power of Super Saiyan, the power of emotion, and the power of the ki that emotion can offer Goku. And I just think that's a really cool concept. And I'm glad that they made it into an actual like extension of Super Saiyan 3. I thought that was very well done because it reinforces that idea that this is really an extension of the power of Super Saiyan. So
it's just kind of wild that here we are with the newest Dragon Ball product, which would be Daima. As far as like anime goes or manga goes, it's still the newest thing. And Toriyama is still tapping into the well that is Journey to the West, albeit he did it before already with Erlang Shen, but here it's even more so the iconography of Journey to the West. So with that being said, we'll bring this video to a close. Thank you, Jordan, and we'll talk to you in the next one.